Namaste. Schopenhauer, the philosopher of pessimism, used to say, never reveal to a friend what you would hide from an enemy. His traits of paranoid personality are here in full display. We will be exploring today two personality disorders, antisocial and paranoid. To discuss our subject today, we have with us psychoanalysis consultant Mr. Himanshu Reddy. Namaste.
Namaste.
Can we start with what Can we start with what antisocial personality disorder with the paranoid personality disorder is all about?
There are many ways of studying the personality disorder chapter of DSM. One way is to study each personality disorder individually. But then you don't have the benefit of comparative perspective. Second way to study the chapter is to go cluster wise. So you start with cluster A, then cluster B, then cluster C. I have chosen a separate way to analyze the chapter, and that is based upon the underlying psychoanalytic dynamic. On this point, there is some commonality between the two disorders we are going to discuss, the paranoid personality disorder and the antisocial personality disorder. The paranoid personality disorder is characterized by a long-term chronic paranoid ideation by the person that something bad is going to happen to him, that people will make fun of him, they will judge him negatively, that people can misuse information if he gives them any, that people may be involved in trapping him in something or the other, that there would be some sort of a betrayal by people. So this continuous fear of something wrong happening to him, being deceived, being wrongly judged, being criticized, being given some sort of humiliation or emotional pain. These are the characteristics of the personality, the paranoid personality disorder. When we look at the antisocial personality disorder, the person finds it difficult to go by existing laws and conventions. There is a disregard for laws, a disregard for convention, high amount of impulse and the desire to satisfy desires very shortly, focus on short-term desires, completely moving away from long-term consequences, unethical behavior, and constantly bumping into law at multiple points in one's life, and being a completely unreliable person, and in some cases showing little or no remorse when being caught. So when we look at these two personality disorders, there is one commonality between the two, and that we'll discuss when we go to the causation, that the antisocial personality disorder can be created because of 5 to 7 different reasons, and one of the reason has something in common with the paranoid personality disorder, and that is why I have chosen the two for a comparative reflection. And the core point is this: the paranoid personality disorder person is fearful of something bad happening, and he tries to run away because of the fear. So when you look at the fight and flight response, he is giving the response of flight, whereas antisocial personality disorder has one thing in common. I'm not saying all antisocial personality disorders, but we will see that out of 7 causes, one cause of antisocial personality disorder can be the fear of attack from outside, in the face of which instead of giving the flight response like the paranoid person, he gives the fight response. So that is where there is one conceptual point common between the two of them, although both of them give very different responses. So that is how I have chosen these two personality disorders based upon psychoanalytic dynamic, so that we can have a deeper comparative reflection on the pair of it.
Is coming to the pair of these two. Why do we study the two disorders together? Is there any relationship between the two?
Yes, the antisocial personality disorder, person goes out and interacts with the society in a very aggressive way. So it's a fight response, whereas the other paranoid personality disorder gives a flight response. And let us go into the uh, aspect, the deeper aspect of it. Both of them can start. I am not saying always they do start, but both of them can start with object loss in early childhood. And the object loss in early childhood and the split being open can lead to a constant fear of the attack of the bad breast. And there is also a fear of uh, attack of the Oedipal figure, the parent of the same gender in the Oedipal triangle. However, both these personalities give different responses to this fear and to this loss. So one gives a fight response, the antisocial personality disorder person, whereas one gives a flight response of withdrawal, which is given by the paranoid personality disorder. And therefore, one way to trace them is to trace them both beginning with early life object losses and both of them giving different responses to the same phenomenon.
That's quite interesting how the two things diversify later on and how they develop later on. What is the psychoanalytic explanation of the causation of these two personality disorders?
Let's start first with the paranoid and then we take up antisocial and then we can see how the two of them can start have some commonality between the two. With respect to the paranoid, there are many explanations psychoanalytically. First one is the Kleiner explanation of the split being open and there is a constant fear of the attack of the bad breast. And because the split is not closed, there is constant fear of the attack of the bad breast, which creates this paranoid fear. Freudian explanation goes on two lines. First is the homosexual line, where there is a non-acceptance of one's homosexuality, and therefore there is uh, the dynamic is there is a homosexual attraction, I love you, and then you use reaction formation to say I hate you, and it magnifies to say I will kill you, and then you project it on the other to say you will kill me, and therefore the paranoid ideation. So the homosexual Freudian explanation is based upon unaccepted homosexuality, upon which a number of defenses work to result in the paranoid thinking. And the heterosexual explanation of the Freudian school is there is a fear of the parent of the same gender attacking because the Oedipus is not resolved and the person is yet to give up the object of Oedipal choice. This is the Freudian explanation. The over the time learning explanation comes from unstable and persecuting parents. That over a period of time, if the parents are unpredictable and they can attack anytime, the person develops paranoia that attack can come anytime from anywhere. The world is not a safe place. Then you have Kohut's explanation. where because of a weak self, there is disintegration in front of stress. And because of that disintegration, hypochondriacal thoughts or paranoid thoughts, they start. Because the early life Oedipal and the uh, split phenomena, they start exerting themselves more because the control of the ego is lost and sort of the gains which were made in the developmental process are sort of reversed in regression. And then we
Mhm.
have the ISTDP explanation where the rage towards the parents is projected out. It's a repressed rage projected out, which results in the paranoid feeling that somebody will attack me. So it is one's tendency to attack projected out that somebody will attack me. So these are some of the explanations for the paranoid personality disorder. There is also an important element because in paranoid personality disorder, we also have this element of betrayal, which is a very Oedipal
Mhm.
element that if you go close to someone, you will be betrayed and that will cause you pain. So that is also a very important element where I think part of that betrayal element comes from the Oedipal non-resolution. So this is how the Freudian part goes. Sorry, the paranoid personality disorder explanations go psychoanalytically. Now let us look at
That's why
the
uh,
yeah yeah you
when you
say
say about the betrayal, that is the reason why we usually see that people with paranoid personality disorder, they have more of trust issues with others.
yes. So the trust issue genesis can be in the Oedipal phase
Mm-hmm.
or it can be in the oral phase where the breast is not available enough.
All right.
Now we come to the second personality disorder, the antisocial personality disorder. The causation psychoanalytically explained is like this. One, it may be because of the split being open because of object loss. And there is a fear of attack, and the antisocial person is actually preempting that attack by giving a fight response to that fear instead of giving the flight response like the paranoid personality. The second is
Right.
Yeah, the second is it may be a superego pathology where the superego formation has not rightly happened, which from Kleinian and Jungian perspective would be a constitutional problem, and from a Freudian perspective it would be a problem because of non-resolution of the Oedipus. From Cohusian point of view, it would be a problem of idealization. So the second element would be first reason would be the open split. Second would be the what did I just say? It is about the superego pathology, the inability of the superego to fully structure. So when we look at so many
Mm.
people with antisocial, one component of the antisocial may have a superego pathology, and in the extreme, you move over from sociopathy to psychopathy.
Right.
The third you can have is the Oedipal non-resolution. It is a revolt against the Oedipal failure to resolve the Oedipus triangle. The fourth is it is the pent-up rage against the society because the socio-economic conditions are such that the desires are not met and therefore the person is forced to get into antisocial behavior because of the circumstances. Five, it can be because of adapting to very difficult environments. That one may be
Mm-hmm.
growing up in an environment which is full of low income, low ethics, and lot of crime. And to survive in such environment, there would be no choice but to go antisocial to some extent. So it may just be a defensive measure of socio-economic type.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have the cry for help that Winnicott talks about. that the antisocial behavior may be a cry for help to have the good parents back who can take care, provide security, give love, and then ask the person not to do it, and he would stop.
Hmm.
So it may also be almost like the delinquent behavior of the juvenile, which can be a cry for help.
Mhm.
So when we look at all these reasons, there is one reason for the development of antisocial personality disorder where you have the paranoid personality and antisocial sharing some psychodynamic similarity. And that is
Mhm.
the open split or the Oedipal failure, where there is a constant fear of being attacked from outside and the response is different. The paranoid gives the flight response and the antisocial gives the fight response. Two more elements which are in causation of antisocial personality disorder. One may just be lack of impulse control.
Mhm.
That we may be looking at a
Yeah.
combination of narcissism and lack of impulse control.
Mhm.
And uh, this often goes uh, with lack of training and also partly constitutional. So this
Okay.
is a very important element in antisocial where the lack of impulse control gets there and in some cases it may just be too much of pent up anger and the person does not know where to throw it, and that can result in some of the
Mhm.
antisocial behavioral traits. So these are the
Right.
causative factors that psychoanalysis tells us with regard to these two personality disorders that we are discussing.
So when the psychoanalytic explanation is so profound with the onset of these disorders, how the school of psychoanalysis would explain the healing and proceed with the healing of the personality disorders?
Both these disorders are extremely difficult to heal. Both of them require a cohesion phase to start with. In case of paranoid personality disorder, we are not dealing so much with manipulation, so it's easier. In antisocial personality disorder, the extreme forms of it we may not be able to heal, and even the moderate forms of it we have to be very careful of the manipulative element in the person. But essentially, we are if there is some sort of will of the person or the person respects will of somebody he is emotionally close to and is serious
Okay.
about therapy, then we can start cohesion and then go based upon what pathology we are finding. Take up that school. So if we are looking at the homosexual, heterosexual kind of thing, then we take up a Freudian school. So if we find, for example, an antisocial personality where we see that the rage at the society essentially is a rage at one's own unaccepted sexual orientation, then we
Mm.
take up that school. If we find that there is no sexual dynamic but only an aggression dynamic, then we may be looking at the ISTDP explanation or the Kleinian explanation. If we just see an object loss or lack of people around and we see the person in therapy getting into self-object kind of transferences, then we may be looking at the cohesion failure of idealization. So the case history and a first few sessions will give a broad direction to us how to go post the initial cohesion period. And essentially, we will be looking at 2 to 3 days a week going on for 2 to 3 years. That is the kind of duration we will be looking at. Also, both these disorders require complementary uh, healing efforts using behavioral therapy. Behavioral therapy is very good, and you can combine that with something like meditation or something like cognitive restructuring and go into DBT. DBT also will be a very good element to complement the psychoanalytic psychotherapy. If we are just dealing with aggression and we see that the cognitive work is done, the internalization of the good object is done, the safe space is felt and used, and the person is free now to communicate, and the only thing remaining is to bring the negative effect out, then for a few sessions we can look at ISTDP.
Okay.
We can also use the Valley Junction model that I have created for healing this, where we first discuss the cognitive aspect of why this problem is there, how we can heal it, and post discussion we can look at the actual healing using that model. So this is a broad way that we can look at trying to treat in therapy these two problems which are supposed to be very difficult to heal.
So that was to do with the school of psychoanalysis, but somewhere we all can understand that, antisocial personalities, especially this one, is more to do with the behavioral part of an individual, as you just mentioned. How the holistic healing would be helpful to heal the people dealing with paranoid personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder.
Uh, Holistic healing can help in variety of causes which are underlying these disorders. First, for the paranoid and antisocial both, the paranoid has lot of anxiety and the antisocial has lot of rage, which may just be rage or maybe a reaction to anxiety. So in either case, we require relaxation. We require the person to feel safe. We require the person to realize the world is a safe place. And therefore, anything that helps you with relaxation, it can be breathing exercises, it can be pranayam, it can be reiki, it can be pranic healing, it can be music therapy, it can be art therapy. All of that helps the person in relax and improve his quality of life. And with that in the background, our results are accelerated. Our work is accelerated. Second, homeopathy claims and many people report very good benefits in case of personality disorders by homeopathic medication. Third, psychodrama can be a very powerful tool to
Mr. Whether you need to come again.
psychodrama.
Can you just repeat? Yeah, we lost you in between. After homeopathy.
uh, After
Yes.
homeopathy, we can look at uh, psychodrama to bring out the effects and to provide the person an opportunity to live out those traumatic moments and also internalize a good, reliable, stable object in the course of that psychodrama. If you do psychodrama in conjunction, or rather, you first do psychoanalytic pathogenesis, use the Valley Junction model, and then if you do psychodrama, my feeling is it should give very good results. The psychodrama results can be multiplied by having these two pre-stages before the psychodrama is actually done. So the design of psychodrama can be based upon these two elements, which can go as inputs to what kind of psychodrama we want. Uh, Lastly, being with people and seeing that the negative schemas and fantasies that they have are not always true, and matching up what they think with the evidence outside. That is a very powerful tool for the paranoid person, that everyone is not judging him,
Right.
everyone is not out there to get him, and the world is a safe place. The antisocial personality disorder also requires lot of training on impulse, for which many of the holistic healing methods are very good. So we have visualization methods, we have actual behavioral methods, many of which are spiritual, which help the person defer an impulse. We have meditation techniques which calm down the person, and often in the setting with a guru or with an idol, the person is able to internalize a good, reliable, stable object, which otherwise is difficult and in therapy takes a long time. And the if we are looking at a softer version of antisocial, and if we are looking at an arrested process or lack of empathy, then those things can be addressed when the person is in groups or is doing social work, which is strengthening the positive aspect of the person. So these are some of the ways in which the non-traditional holistic healing methods can help in both these disorders.
Mr. Vedha, as you just explained that the entire spectrum of different healing processes can be utilized here. At the same time, you brought in a idea of that bringing in the awareness. That means initiating the insight development in the client or the patient who's actually suffering. So, how is patient education important here? And what can be done when people are having these kind of personality disorders like
Uh,
antisocial personality disorder and paranoid personality disorder?
I think the awareness that one has a disorder, the disorder getting ego dystonic, the person
Mhm.
realizing the price he pays, and the person resolving to heal the disorder. This is something which we need to achieve either by psychoeducation or in conjunction with the first few sessions of therapy. So psychoeducation has a very important aspect that it makes the person aware what is the difficulty, makes it ego dystonic, makes the person realize the price, and fortifies the conviction of the person to get out of it. Second, the person knows once he is told about the genesis and what aggravates and what heals, the person is very clear about his do's and don'ts. And these do's and don'ts help him to accelerate the process of healing.
Hmm.
Third, he has insight. So next time when he goes, a paranoid person goes into a collectivity, he knows that he is fantasizing inside his mind all those negative things, but the thing is actually happening outside. And that is because in psychoeducation, somebody has confronted him and told him that, do you think they are thinking like this? And the therapist also would have told him this. So the insight helps the person govern himself better. It also prepares the person to report
Hmm.
what exactly is happening inside of him in the situation of the difficulty. And that fortifies our
True.
pathogenesis. And we know what exactly is at work. The person can then, with right psychoeducation of the scientific type, the person can choose which holistic healing tools can be added in what way. And lastly, he should know how his activities are affecting his family members and what best can he do for them and what best can he expect from them, and the same from friends and neighbors. So this whole social aspect of what the personality disorder can lead to and how best to manage it, that the person is able to think out much better when he has adequate social education and is not completely ignorant as to what is happening to him. Because if he is ignorant, he can only feel anxious and angry, but not work out with wisdom how to accelerate the process and how to manage himself and others while the process of healing is going on.
Right. So that is with regard to an individual. When you talked about the person's diversifying from the causation to flight or fight, that also brings into the important factor of how a person is related to his environment and surrounding, which is very prominent in both the cases. So
Yes.
it is quite obvious for the caregivers and the family members to get offended or to disown or abandon because of the antisocial personality behaviors or because of the mistrust. So, what should be the family members of caregivers be guided and suggested or educated for in light of these two disorders?
Uh, it's a good question because for paranoid personality disorders, the family member education, the caregiver education is very much on the traditional lines. You
Okay.
tell the family members to know what are the do's and don'ts, explain to them why
Mhm.
it is happening, tell them what to report, what is most important to report, so that we know what is working or not working in terms of medication or therapy, to help the person marshal a whole basket of holistic healing tools, help the person go to therapy, pay for therapy, support him in therapy, and support him in going to social groups and going for holistic healing, even learning holistic healing techniques so far as they could be learned. So these, and not to develop secondary problems of themselves because of this person's, the family, the patient's problems in the family. So these are fairly traditional, but when we look at antisocial, it's a slightly different basket because in the extreme form of antisocial, when we are dealing with a superego pathology of the severe type, there the family members actually have to save themselves and the family. So they have to be extremely aware about the pathological doings of the person. So antisocial personality disorder, we have to look at how severe it is and what is the cause of it. If the cause is
Mm.
object loss, if the cause is pent up anger, if the cause is repressed sexual orientation, it's a one basket of causes. But if the cause is superego pathology, it's a very different set of situation. So if in antisocial personality disorder, we are looking at criminality, we are looking at psychopathy kind of behavior, then the family members have to save themselves and save the resources of the family and also save others from the person. So they have to be very proactive. And at times, they may not be able to be empathic or to be supportive to the person. Second, uh, if it is not related to a severe superego pathology, then empathy is the key because then we are looking at object losses or arrested development. Then we are looking at a cry for help or a compulsion to be bad because of socio-economic situation. And there, the caregivers have to create an empathic environment. They have to, if possible, provide adequate resources to the person. And initially, the person may go out to satisfy unsatisfied desires, and the pendulum may go on the other side before it comes back to normal. But these pent up desires have to be lived out. The person also has to be assured that you can prosper in life even if you don't do antisocial activities. This is not the only way to success. So, uh, good can be profitable. That is something it has to go in. So, good can be profitable. The world is a safe place. These are the templates they have to go in. And the people in the family or caregivers have to watch out far more for the person than they would have to for a paranoid personality disorder person. Because the antisocial personality disorder person, the outcomes of his actions in society can be far more volatile than that of the paranoid personality disorder person. The effects of the paranoid personality are on himself, whereas of antisocial personality are on others. And that is where the whole aspect of saving the family and saving the society from the doings of the person becomes a very important criteria in extreme cases. For non-extreme cases, it has to be long therapy. It has to be a lot of hard work by the person, and very importantly, the company is very important. So the person has to be in company
Hmm.
where antisocial is not the norm and it is punished and not rewarded. So the social learning is very, very important in those cases. So these are some of the uh, ways in which the caregivers have to be psychoeducated. And often, in both these cases, if some person has some spiritual orientation, that can very positively help. The trust in God, the trust in Guru, or the trust in the goodness of the spiritual process, that also is seen to help many people. So these are some of the things one can look at, and it's extremely important to psychoeducate for both these disorders, and more so for the antisocial personality disorder.
True. So in today's discussion, we have seen how School of Psychology and different schools of psychology believe in the probability of inducing positivity in a person, and also how the therapy holds a positive regard and non-judgmental space, especially with people with such difficult disorders where the society is actually, they prefer to boycott or punish such individuals. Thank you
Right.
so much, Mr. Vedya, for sharing your valuable knowledge with us. Thank you so much. We have covered today two personality disorders. In the subsequent videos, we shall be covering other disorders from DSM-5 in the same way. Do watch our upcoming videos and write to us at hvindia@gmail.com. Namaste.
Namaste.